Good morning. This is Mr. McClintock wanting to talk to you today a little bit about internet research since we're going to be diving into that world. And the internet is a fascinating and disturbing place all at the same time. So I want to give you some quick tips of things to look for to make sure that the sources you're finding are worth your time and worth trusting to put your academic prowess to the test with. And the easiest way I know to do that is to do a fact check. Let me explain. First off, let's all face the fact the internet is, well, a strange, disturbing place with lots of things in it. And it's a place where you have to make sure that you're taking care to keep your skeptical goggles on. Skeptical means questioning everything that you see and always asking, is this something that I trust and I'm ready to put my ideas behind? Because if you put a source that you aren't sure about into an academic research paper that you're trying to write, you're going to be in for a bad time because then you're relying on rumors or ideas that may or may not hold up. So what I like to do is do what's called a fact check, which is a real quick, easy test anytime I come across something that I think might not be worth my while. And a fact check is an acronym, and it stands for feeling manipulation, author bias, citations, and tracing sources. Let me explain. One of the first things you want to look for is feeling manipulation. If you come across a web page or a post on Facebook or Twitter, and it makes you feel anger or hatred or disgust, you might be more likely to click that share button to share out to other people because you have an emotional response. And every author on the internet knows this. In fact, there's been studies done that if someone can make you feel something, you're more likely to share it because an emotional response triggers a little part of our brain that encourages us to fight and to go against things. Or they call it the lizard brain because it's one of the oldest parts of our brains, right? It's that part of you that instantaneously pushes someone away if they're too close, right? You don't think about it, you just do. Well, guess what? That works on internet as well. That Instagram post that makes you a little bit angry and you want to share that rage with others, you hit share before you even stop to think about it. So if you find yourself feeling emotional while searching the internet, stop. That should be your first guess right there that you're probably being manipulated. Someone is trying to make you feel happy or sad or angry, and you need to stop and think about what you're doing. So look for a post, article, advertisement, or any source that you're looking at and ask, is it manipulating my emotions for good or ill? Either way, you need to be paying attention and making sure that you're thinking about it. And one of the things from there is to check who is telling me this information. Look at the author and their bias. Every web page, every post, every article has someone who made it. A person, a group, or an organization, a corporation that wants something from you. They want you to share information. They want you to buy their product, or they want you to read their magazine or article. They need something from you as a reader, though, right? Whether it's a Russian bot trying to convince your political views, or whether it is PepsiCo company trying to get you to buy their product, they need you to do something to do that. So consider, who's telling me this? And if you can't tell, that's a problem. And you probably shouldn't trust the information. And if you can't tell what their bias is or what they want from you, you should also be a little careful and not trust that source. The C for fact checks are for citations. Just like in an essay where you have to cite an MLA, web pages should cite too. Now, of course, you're not going to get an MLA works cited page on every web page. You might find that, but it's rare. You're more likely to find things like links, academic citations, or references that are embedded into the text. And if you come across a source and it has no citations, no links, no references, should you trust it? Probably not. And of course, if it's a good source and it has lots of citations, you should trace those citations. And that's probably the best way to check if you can trust a source. Not just say, hey, look, there's a bunch of links, I trust it, but to follow some of those links. In fact, 9 times out of 10, you'll find a better source than the one you initially found. So why not cite the original? If you come across a news article and it points a study that says something that you find outlandish, pull up that study. The internet is going to have it. So find that original study and cite that original study, because then you'll look like a boss because you'll be citing the original science. And quite often, when you take the time to do that, you'll find that the source that is being cited isn't always what it seems. Perhaps they're missing some key detail, or perhaps they're overly simplifying. But you won't know that until you trace the source. So the last step in a fact check is to trace sources and see what really is behind the thing that you're looking at to find out. Okay, so open that new tab, trace the source before you hit send or share on anything you send. Let me show you what this looks like, and I'm going to use an example that I came across. Oh, before I do that, there are many types of tests for internet checks. I liked the fact check test. You're going to come across one that's very popular in most colleges, the CRAP test, for Currency Reliability Authority, by a librarian named Molly Beestrom from Columbia University. You'll probably hear this one. It works well too. There's also a great one called the SIFT test. The key is all of these are the same. It's about seeing through skepticism and trying to ask, do I trust what I'm seeing? Which is a way you should be viewing every web page, every post, every single thing you see coming through a digital screen, including what you see from our class. Don't take our word for it. Fact check us. Are we trying to make you feel differently? Are we manipulating you? Are we trustworthy as authors, as teachers? Do we cite our sources? Do we trace those sources? Can you look to trust what we're saying? I sure hope you're asking those questions, especially if we're in digital school. But here's an example that I found literally on my Facebook feed the other day. A friend of mine had posted something about climate change. And this one talks about how arsonists are currently lighting fires across the West. And police departments are picking them up in droves, it says, across the I-5 corridor. Right now, when I'm recording this, there's massive fires going all across the Pacific Northwest and through California. And this is a very politically charged ad. So if I do a fact check on this, I look at it and it concerns me. There's smoke in the air around me as I speak. So my feeling is of fear and of anger. They're catching people doing this. This makes me angry and it makes me want to share this. But then I stop. If I feel myself feeling something, I need to be skeptical. And if I look, there's no author to this. There's no citation. There's no way I can trace this source, easily at least. Should I trust this? So before I hit share, before I comment back and say, yeah, oh my gosh, this is crazy, I should do a little fact checking. And sure enough, one quick Google search later reveals an article from NBC News right at the top of the stream. And it says not only is this meme completely false, police are begging people to stop spreading it because rumors about people setting arson fires across the West have been spreading. Some people are saying the left is doing it. Some people are saying the right is doing it, but they're both wrong. There's not been huge amounts of people caught for setting wildfires. And they're asking the police, they're begging people to stop spreading rumors like this on the internet because they're spreading quickly and they're getting overrun with people calling that someone is lighting fires when that's just not happening in real life. So I'm sure glad that even though I had a gut reaction, I stopped and I thought about that. And I sure didn't spread it or comment back to it because it's a rumor. We should let it die. Let's try something a little more applicable to what you're going to come across, though. As you're researching, let's say you're looking up crime in New York, right? So I'm going to do a quick Google search for crime in New York 1850, because maybe I have family or relations there. And about the fourth link down, oops, I spelled fourth wrong. That's okay. About the fourth link down, I come across this webpage. 217 years of homicide in New York from a source named Quartz, which I've never heard of. Do I trust this? Well, let's find out. First off, do I have a gut reaction looking at it? It starts with a graph, and that graph goes up really, really high up here, and then comes down again. So that instantly makes me go, wow, that's big. My reaction is to go, woof, that's a lot. So again, I need to be skeptical, right? This author is trying to make me look at this graph and go, wow, that's huge. As I look down, though, I find it's got an author, a live person. It's got a company. Sure, it's not one I've never heard of. It's got a date. It's got links that I can follow and review. So far, so good. And as I read through this, I find that this person actually, when you get to reading the article, is pretty balanced. They're talking about how the reason behind the decline of the past 2 decades will continue to spark fierce debate. Oh, they're not trying to make me afraid. They're trying to ask, what caused this graph jump? And they even update later on. There's an update here. It says The above chart is misleading because it doesn't take into account change in population. Oh, so they called themselves on their own error, and then they put the data per capita based on how big New York is at the time, because clearly 1850, population of New York was a lot smaller, so one murder a day doesn't seem nearly so bad. But you still see that same jump. So, okay, I feel like I can trust this source. This is a person who's thinking through a topic. They're asking questions. I could cite this, but I had to stop and think about it, just like I hope you do. As you're looking through any source, be skeptical and ask the questions of, do I trust it? Does it make me feel something powerful? And who's the author trying to make me feel that? What do they want? What are their citations? And can I trace their information? Fact check everything you come across. Don't let other people take advantage of you with false information. Be your own best researcher. Happy searching of the internets. Be safe as you do so. Be skeptical and fact check everything you come across. Thank you.